So, very quickly, without any fluff, I'm going to walk you guys through a few dating horror stories I have. And by horror stories, I really mean moments I learned why unwavering boundaries, femininity, things like this are important in order to get treated with respect in dating. So, I think a lot of girls start by saying, I'm a feminist, or I don't need a man to provide for me. Things like this, right? I used to say things like this, because I'm a feminist. I think, if I'm with a man, he shouldn't view me as a liability, like, oh, this woman cannot drive. But to some extent, this dynamic has to be around somewhat, right? If you say that you want princess treatment, and let's just be honest here, a lot of men have internalized misogynistic beliefs. It's very few men that are truly a liberated, egalitarian feminist, right? And I think in modern dating, it's better to accept how you can get treated properly and not taken advantage of based on being a woman, right? I used to fight so hard and say, well, I'm not a woman, I'm a person. Okay, but is that what people are going to see when they date you? And don't get me wrong, you can say these things on the date. I am a big believer in saying whatever you want on a date. If you are a crazy person, tell them that. I don't think you should try to be someone you're not on a date, because then you're going to attract someone you don't want to be with, right? It's also very off-putting when somebody changes their boundaries in order to appease you. That's very off-putting. So with all of that being said, I've developed this perspective from listening to a lot of femininity content, and I want to share it with women, or at least female presenting individuals, or, even some of the videos I watch are like very feminine gay men who are like, I'm kind of the girl in the relationship, and they give advice to women on how to date in a feminine way. And again, as I say in all of my videos, it does not matter what your gender identity is. You have to fit this archetype that the world is going to see of you and embody it well, right? I used to protest beauty norms. I know that's shocking coming from someone with pink hair, but I used to say, I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do anything feminine. I am who I am, and that's all they need. That's fine and dandy, but we all have privileges in this life. If you can enhance what you have slightly, you can get an exponential payoff from how you're going to be perceived. Unfortunately, this society is very shallow. It loves to judge a book by its cover. Now, do I think you should... Okay, how do I word this? I don't think on a first date you necessarily need to wear a ton of makeup, right? I've always been a big believer of don't wear makeup and see if you feel comfortable around them. See if you feel confident. If you're going on a date with someone that is so attractive and out of your league, you feel like you've got to look the best you've ever looked, in my opinion, that's not sustainable, right? You might be attracted to them because they give your nervous system kind of like that cocaine-esque high where it's like an addiction, like, oh, I get validation from this person. They're hard to get. They're the bad boy. That's just my personal experience. I think when you go out on a date with someone, you should listen to how your body feels. That's a very good indicator of what's going to come out of it, right? Like, dates I felt nervous and felt like my outfit wasn't right. Is that really a sustainable person for your nervous system? We hear lots of stories of people who are married to a narcissist and they were in fight or flight for years and they became chopped because their cortisol was just through the roof, right? And then think of a partner you've had, assuming you've had one, or if not, a partner someone else has had, where they're just glowing, right? A big example I think of are some friends of mine where like their partner cooks for them, they have healthy dialogue, healthy disagreements. They show up for each other above and beyond on 99% of days. Do you think that's a person on your first date you'd be like, I'm chopped, Like right now, this is kind of how I look most of the time, but I'm not wearing any makeup. If I were going to go on a date with my celebrity crush, I'd probably be wearing a ton of makeup. This is a double-edged sword because I really ask women here, what is your intention, right? If you're on this witchy female manipulator side of things where you're like, I want a man to provide for me, you need to look your best. There's no doubt about it. Looks are everything if you're trying to achieve something out of somebody, right? Men make it very clear they will give anything up for a beautiful woman. They'll sacrifice their whole family for a woman in a bikini. That is not, I'm not even being facetious. Like, they will leave a wonderful woman for a woman that is 20 years younger and 20 pounds thinner. So if you're, but I don't think you should put your whole life in a man's hands. Gosh, this is so off topic, but I don't think you should put your whole dreams into the hands of a man. If your dream is to be a mother and have a kid, you better get that prenup. You better get that ring. You better have that man as your husband and not your baby daddy. I've seen many dumb women be like, I just want to be a wife and have kids. And these men will screw them over because they know that love is not a tangible thing, right? You know, my mom says this before. One time she had to go to court and she saw the amount of like people in this court who were just begging for pennies from their baby daddy. And it's like, is that the life you want to live? So I ask women a lot, is kids your main goal? People always ask me, do you want to have kids? And that answer to me is like saying, do you want to go live out of a van and surf in Australia for the rest of your life? Maybe. There's a lot of factors that depend on it. I mean, I don't think your goals should be so tied up in something where someone else is going to have a lot of power over you, right? If your goal is to have kids, you need to be so unwavering in your support system, your finances being secure, having a man that's going to protect you. Like, so this would look like a separate savings account, a prenup, things like that. I am totally off topic with this, but I just want to make that crystal clear. Because a lot of these femininity YouTubers, I'm like, what's your end goal here? Are you trying to teach women how to be this seductress who's gonna, get the most attractive man and get this short-term validation they're clearly lacking? Do they want to be this trad wife who's probably going to get screwed over because all they were worried about is how to be feminine and cook like his mom? For me, I'm really trying to have the perfect balance of being this empowered dater, but being true to myself, but also striving for high standards. Because I think it's very hard as a woman. Like I said, you fall into one of three categories. You're this hot, unattainable girlfriend, where you're just fiending for validation. To me, that feels very manic and disorganized. There's this trad wife who is stupid and going to get taken for granted, right? And then there's like the third option where you find someone aligned with your values, whatever those may be. They don't fall into a clear archetype, right? I feel that I could find myself dating a lot of archetypes. If you have a type, ask yourself, is it good or is it kind of your shadow self, right? I think I heard Tam Kaur talking about this, but a lot of women are like, I want the bad boy. They read these romance novels about this like emotionally avoidant boyfriend. That is completely low vibrational. And if you resonate with that, I want you to start realizing how unradical it is for a man in today's society to show his love for you by detaching. The same men that go to war for a woman and a child. I mean, when we say men used to go to war, I think we've got to understand there is a competence and a stoicism to modern masculinity. When we act like these men are too stupid to text us back, you are empowering this ridiculous behavior where the whole society